Excellent. Good morning, everybody. Welcome to Omnicron and Conteneo's PDU hour. This is regarding the Agile Adoption Curve and where are you? And we're going to do something so exciting today. So be prepared to be interactive, and then please, you'll need a little patience because you'll be going in and out of screens today. It's going to be a live research project on actually where you are in the Agile Adoption Curve and compared to your peers. So we're very, very excited about it. Let me start by, again, introducing myself. My name is Robin Burrow, and I'm the president for Omnikron Systems. So good morning, and thank you for joining. And you'll also see, it's like, this is like Brady Bunch. Okay. I don't know where this is for you guys, but over there is Heather King. Heather is our training director. Oh, okay. And down here is Brad. Brad is our VP of Sales. And just below me or wherever you are, we also have Laura, the VP of Sales for Conteneo. And she's going to be taking us through something that is a game changer for you personally and also for your companies this year. So we're very excited. So thank you. And before we start, Brad had a couple things he wanted to share with you, and then we'll just jump right in.
Awesome. Thank you, Robin. Hold on, everybody. Let's go right. Perfect. So every webinar, we always do a little news you can use slide. Normally, I take about, they give me 2 minutes. I take about 5 or 6 minutes, but since Laura has so much amazing stuff to share with you guys, I'm going to be really quick today, but I do have some exciting things to share. That will truly add value to you and probably those you know. The first thing we always do is we always give congrats. We do a drawing after every webinar for those who, what we like to call stick and stay, and actually get value from 60 minutes of the information we're going to share. Cleanne from Oracle won last webinar. Yay, Cleanne. She's not a bot expert, but however, she is much smarter in the bot universe. And then the most exciting thing we want to share is Omnicron. We just launched our PDU University. And the reason why we did this is a lot of people obviously, they just don't have the time to show up for these types of webinars. They're extremely busy putting out fires, running projects, doing what they do. Everyone kept asking us for the recordings, or they watched it, and they wanted to share it with somebody else. So we're making it very easy. And from our space, working with busy professionals like yourselves, we've learned that there's two really important words to get your attention, and that's easy and simple. Okay, so
I thought you were going to say free and free.
What's the third one? Oh, free. Okay, all right, I like that, and free. So I'm going to take you out here really quick. It's just right on the Omnicron website. Give me 1 second here. I'll flip it over. So if you go on the Omnicron website, up at the top, there's a free PDU tab. You just want to click on that. And please work. Oh, thank you. This website and the PDU University is designed to really make sure the project managers are getting their PDUs, understanding the PMI triangle. And we've made it so simple, we've even classified under tabs what goes into what. So if you're looking for leadership PDUs, just come over here, click this. Really simple to do. You watch it, press play, and then when you're done, click this little button, get your PDU. And Heather, that you see there on the screen, she will so graciously send you over a beautiful certificate of completion. Makes it really easy.
You have to fill out the survey, though.
Well, yeah, it's not that easy. You got to apply a little bit. And, for those of you who are not familiar with bots, you'll get a little experience with the bot gathering some information from you. So it's really wonderful. Same scenario. You got your strategic right here. And these are the best of the best webinars that we've had. So hopefully you enjoy them. You leverage them. Don't be like the people I see on LinkedIn who accidentally slip and they don't get their PDUs for their PMP. And there's that much wiggle room in there. If you don't get it, there's no grace. You're going to have to go back and get recertified. And I'm sure if you're a project manager, you don't really want to do that. So please share this with those you know. It's a good share. It's like going to a great steakhouse. If you like it, you tell people about it, and we appreciate it. So, and moving on, I'm going to come back here really quick, and then we always share quotes from last month's webinar, and those quotes are usually more so to encourage you. Please stay for the 60 minutes so you really do get value. If someone asks you today if you learned anything, I promise you, you're going to be able to tell them yes after Laura's done sharing the information she's going to share with you today. So with that, it's time to play the Agile Journey mapping game. And Laura, I'm going to hand this back over to you, and I'm going to enjoy the webinar as well.
Thank you. And Laura, before you jump in, I just want to give a little guidance to everybody who is coming in today. Right now we have 70 participants, so thank you. And what I need you to do is go into the chat button. If you just brush the bottom of your screen with your mouse, you'll see chat. And if you scroll up in your chat, you'll see a link. It's the same link twice from Heather. That's going to be the collaboration engine that we're going to play in. So Laura will guide you from here, but I wanted to make sure that if you have any questions, go ahead and use the chat or the Q&A. Both Heather and I are watching that, but please go into the link that Heather is given there for you 3 times. Click on that link, sign in, and now Laura is your guide. So thank you.
Well, welcome everybody. Thank you for having me today. This is going to be a lot of fun. So yeah, definitely click the link, and I'm going to share my screen and kind of show you what's going on and give you good explanations on things. So, all right, so you should be able to see my screen, and basically what I'm doing is flipping between the webinar that we've got going on and my Weave screen, which has a kind of an interesting graphic on the back. So hang tight with me on that one because I'll definitely have the opportunity to walk you through it. So while you're all joining, the other thing I just want to point out here is that we're going to be using the chat that's integrated in with the webinar, the Zoom platform. Which is where you all need to be. And on this one, you'll see that we do actually have a chat panel, but in this webinar, it is not necessary to even have it or use it. So when you look at that chat panel on the left, you'll see a little arrow to hide it. My recommendation is just to hide that because you don't need it. And that way you can, keep it top of mind that if you have something you want to chat to the webinar team, best to do that in the other chat so they pay attention to you. All right. So I'll just give everyone a couple more minutes to get in here before I give you a tour. And I know that, by the way, when you do come in, you're going to get this little tip on this is where you chat and this is where you drag items. And you don't have to read it if you don't want to. I know that people tend to click through that anyway. So part of what I'll be doing early on in this webinar is giving you a little better, more personal version of that tour. So that when we get going on some of the questions we want to talk about relative to adopting Agile, that you'll be able to follow along. So the other thing I just want to point out to everybody, and especially to my colleagues at Omnikron, I'm not looking at the chat at all. So you guys, interrupt me at any point. If you have questions that are timely in what we're talking about, don't wait to speak up or to chat up. Throw them in there, and even though we've got 70 people here, I really want to make sure that we stop at the right times and kind of discuss things that are coming up in the moment so that it stays, so you don't forget your question or that it stays relevant.
And I just want to say, Laura, while people are coming in, just a little bit of history between Omnikron and Conteneo. I think it was, I don't know, the story gets better every time I tell it. So I think it was 2007 or 2008 when Omnikron was just getting into Scrum certification. We had our idle practice stood up, and then we were getting into Scrum and Agile. And everyone said, you got to go see this guy, Luke Homan, in the Silicon Valley. He's leading facilitated games, serious games. He's written 3 or 4 books on the user experience. And so I went and I got game certified with Luke, who's the CEO of Conteneo. Laura's the VP. And I saw these tools and these methodologies way back when, before they were software. So every time I meet with Laura and every time I talk to Luke, I get just such a warm, happy feeling to see, I saw this when it was on the whiteboard, when Luke just had the idea. At the time, he was running all over the world, leading games and facilitated meetings for cities, counties, governments all over the world. And he's been able to take all of that training and methodology and put it onto this collaborative engine, Weave, so that we can now do it virtually. So that's a little bit of background for why we're showing the tool to you, because they're my good friends.
Yeah, it's what I love about Robin is that she always has these really great questions to throw at me, like, hey, this, or I was talking to one of my customers about that, and it's nice to have that thought partner who can make great suggestions and also throw some really both tricky and interesting questions at me. So it's a great partnership. I really appreciate it. All right, so I think most of you are in. So the first place I'd like you to start is to look at this, the webinar screen share. So before you do anything in your window, I just want to give you a quick little tour of the platform by having you look at my window. Okay, so I have a slightly more controls and buttons than you will when you look at yours, because I'm the facilitator of this discussion. So as the facilitator, I can do a few extra things that when and if you want to facilitate in the future, you'll be able to do it as well. As a participant in this, there's a few things that you'll see on my screen that you won't see on yours. So the first thing I think is important to explain is that the framework that we're using is really a collection of a couple of frameworks. So I've essentially created a canvas, and if I put it in its regular size, of course, all of you, including me, by the way, even my glasses wouldn't help me with this one. It's obviously it's way too small to really make sense of even what's going on. So you'll see down here on the kind of lower right-hand side where we've given you some controls to be able to zoom in and to adjust the sizing so you can actually see what's going on. So the top one is the zoom, and I can click for a very long time, and then it obviously doesn't look very usable either. So I'm just going to take my mouse up on that upper left-hand side, click and drag the whole screen down. So I can get to the part that I want to get to just by kind of sliding it over here. That's a little bit too big, so there, we're going to be, starting at a point like this. Now, I know for sure, because I used to do it myself, is that all of a sudden you might actually it might get a little bit wonky and you don't even know quite where you are. Maybe you zoom in too much. So if that happens, you can click this little circular arrow. It goes right back to the starting point again, and you can try it again. All right, so we'll go ahead and zoom. I didn't need to make it quite as big as I did before. So we're going to do this. Actually, we don't really want to have Luke talking to me, though. We like Luke a lot, but we don't need him talking to me the whole time. All right. So the next thing I'll point out, once you can kind of figure out how to get it to be the right size for you, is on this right-hand side, I have a collection of these kind of little item pictures. I would think about them as a stack of special Post-it notes. And when we're in each one of these boxes where we're going to have a different type of question and a different type of discussion, I'm going to add the right kind of item type and take away the one we don't want to use. So at the moment, we're going to be starting with the stars. So I have 120 of them here. And, really what we'll end up doing, and I'll just give you a quick demo of this before we get going, is the question that we want to ask first to everybody is, why are you looking at potentially adopting Agile if you're early on in the decision-making process? Or what are your hopes for Agile if you haven't done that yet? Or how are you, or if you're already doing it, what were the factors that helped you decide that adopting Agile was the right thing to do? So I'm going to stop and take a couple of questions in a minute, but let me show you how that works. So you're just going to click that star and drag it over to somewhere on the screen. And when you drop it, it's going to ask you to give it a name. So at this point, what I would do is name the star, the actual short version of your goal. So I'm going to give you Conteneo's example. We're an Agile shop. We work both on the engineering and on the business side using Agile as our framework for working. And the reason we did it is because we wanted to deliver value to our customers faster. So we wanted to deliver software faster. And if I weren't talking, because I can't talk and type at the same time, but if for you guys, it would be helpful if you could add a description as well, if you want to just go into a little bit more detail about what you were hoping to do. So then you hit create and it drops it onto the screen. So I can already see that people are doing this, which is great. One of the things that I'll point out is we have, what, 70 or so people on here. Just for kicks, let's pretend that everyone puts 1 star on here. It's going to get busy, and that's okay. That's another reason why we like the ability to zoom in, because the more I zoom in, the more real estate I get to look at people's inputs, right? And if I zoom out, I can just kind of see where we are. So that's the first activity, is to just think about, why is it that Agile is attractive to you and your organization, and what objectives or goals do you have for moving that direction? So I'll just give you a minute or two to think about it and to add an idea here. And while you do that, Omnikron team, do we have any questions that we could be answering while we let people get to work on this?
No. Sorry, I was busy filling out my stars. And I was on.
I know, it's like, for anyone on this call who can actually type and talk at the same time, I'm in total awe of that, because there's no way that I could ever do it.
There's but you will, if you're just getting comfortable. I want to point out there's a feature on Zoom that says exit full screen, so you can, you know, reduce the size of that if you're just working on one screen. Most people these days have 2 screens open. So I see a lot of stars, Laura. This is awesome. So you have everybody's undivided. It's like at dinner, like Brad's steak dinner, where everybody's so busy eating, nobody's talking.
Nobody's talking. Yeah, no, that's totally fine. I can talk enough for everybody. How's that?
I do have one question, and somebody wants to know, can they edit? Can you show us how they go back and edit? That's a great question.
Okay, so there's a couple of ways that you can do this. The easiest way for me is you could just click on the item that you want to deliver, or you want to edit. Oh, see, I can't talk and type again. So I'm going to click my star, and on the right-hand side, you see this panel, right? It says edit item name right here on the right. There's edit item description. So I can add more data here, and that is automatically saved. So one of the things to just keep in mind is the system is kind of almost saving every keystroke you make. So there's no save button, or, you know, there's no risk of you losing something that you do. Now, later on, we may be in a situation where you want to add some ideas or more information to somebody else's item. So for this phase, I would say don't do that, even though you could. But I'm just going to give you an example of, here's one that somebody added around client expectations. There's no data or example in the item description, which is totally fine. But if whoever made this particular item, if they wanted to add more, like an example or something, all you have to do is click your star and then click into this edit item description box, and you can type as much as you want there, right? So the other thing that I want to show you, which might make it easier to see what's going on here, is there's a list tab that's next to the board tab. So we're looking at the board right now. If I click the list, I can now just have an easier way, it looks like a spreadsheet, right, to scroll through people's ideas here. And I can see that, oh, on this canvas in the goals section, we have a lot of interesting stars, right? And I can see a lot already that, and I'm not surprised, by the way, by this, but a lot of companies are looking at moving to Agile for reasons around speed and efficiency. And that's really common. To just be able to go faster, Agile definitely has helped a lot of teams and a lot of companies just be able to deliver incremental value faster to their customers. Flexibility, that's another one that is really high on the list of why companies are looking at this. You know, the market, your market, whatever that might be, is changing a whole lot faster than it was 10, 15, 20 years ago. And that's true for every market, right? The rate of change might not be the same across all the industries that you represent on the call, but I can guarantee you that your customers are expecting more faster than they were 20 years ago. So being able to respond to your customers' needs and to be more flexible in how you can respond and how quickly you can respond, or how much more able your teams are to be able to take in that new information from your customers. Working in an agile way will improve your ability to do that. So I'm not surprised to see that one as well. Let's see, better feedback. Oh yeah, Robin, I love that one. That's one of my favorite reasons for how agile teams work is just baked into the philosophy of working in an agile way is the need to communicate more frequently and more deeply with your customers. So I know Robin and I are totally aligned on that. We love talking to people and we love talking to our customers. So that one is certainly a big deal one.
Yeah, I'll just say when we started the Agile practice, one customer, they're a 100-year-old company, and they had a project between the US and Japan, and it had gone on for 10 years. I'm not kidding you. It was like the unending song. And so they said, we want to do this first project in Agile. And we were finally able to close and complete that project. It not only was an interesting software, but it was interesting from a global cultural aspect. And it was the customer feedback that is why, because we were able to really shorten up the loops of communication, feedback, and expectations that they hadn't done. They were not ever going to finish that project unless they put it into the Agile framework.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm going to just click on this one because whoever added this increased collaboration for me, thank you very much. That is an awesome segue into something else I wanted to talk about. So some of the benefits around better communication with your customers, or more interaction with your customers, empowered teams, right? The quicker delivery of value to your customers. All of those things, kind of the foundation of all that is this, right? You need to collaborate more effectively. Otherwise, none of those things are going to be easy or as good as you want them to be, right? So the reason that Conteneo built the software platform is to solve that particular problem. Right. So what I think is interesting about this webinar is that communication tools like, whether it's Zoom or GoToMeeting or a conference call or even a wiki or a SharePoint site, I put those in the category of communication, and they're really important. And I think the vendors that provide those kinds of platforms have nailed it. Right. Zoom is awesome. This is really great. But if I were to have not used Weave and just had the regular standard webinar and asked you this initial question, what are your goals? I don't know how we would have had that conversation with 70 people and been able to, in your own time, answer the question carefully and read what other people are saying. And, we're kind of having this need to have visualization, right, of both the question and the answer, in addition to the fact that, hey, we need to hear the voice in this case. And it's nice to be able to, say hi and wave to the people who are doing the webinar. So what my point is that something in Zoom is missing if you have certain kinds of either questions or work or alignment that you want to gain. So even though we've started with an extremely simple framework here, we have a box. Right. What this framework is doing is giving us a space in which to put our answers, and we can look at everybody else's. And we actually are starting to align around some interesting reasons for moving to Agile. So I thought it would be great to start with this question and with this particular framework, and it's really the frame of a box. And that way you can also get used to the tool and how that works. So at this point, I'm going to move on to the next phase of the question.
Before you do, can you just, sorry to interrupt. I did have a bunch of questions. Some folks wanted to know about pricing. So I just let you know there's individual license, there's team licensing, and there's enterprise licensing. And Laura will go over that. It's dirt cheap. I would never bring you guys something that you couldn't use. Okay. I'm like, my middle name is Practical. So Robin Practical Burrows. So don't worry about that. Just have fun with the tool for now. Can you show us the list view again? I know that you did before, but I want to point out something about this, guys. Imagine that we had a live workshop, and you all came. Now there's 78 of us, okay? And we're in a room, and Laura is our facilitator at the podium. She says, okay, everybody go put a sticky on the wall over here about, your goals for Agile. And we all do it, okay? And we're eating, Danishes and sipping coffee and tea and Red Bull, and we're having a great time. Now, some poor soul at the end of the meeting has to take pictures of the stickies and then transcribe it, okay? And then give everybody at the meeting, here's what we did today. So as we go through these, I just want to point out that Weave is doing this for us. We can use our icons, our stickies. It will give us all the different graphics that Laura will show, unlimited graphics, but then you also get this cool report out the back so that you could actually download this into a CSV, sort it, have fun with it. You could look for commonality. So I want to just let you know some of the other functionality that might not be just so apparent. So thanks, Laura, for that.
Yeah, no, that's actually, that's a good point. And in fact, a very tiny number of features that you do in a spreadsheet you can do here. So we've added the ability to sort. So even now, right, let's just say that we were going to spend a little bit more time on the screen than we are, but I might want to just kind of know, well, how many people are looking for things like, and I'm just going to, a waterfall, that's an interesting word. Let's look for that. Okay, so we have 4 people who are using waterfall right now and are looking at improving their ability to deliver faster and moving away from waterfall. So if I do a little sort on that, if I go back to my board, it's a way for me to also reduce the complexity. So
I didn't even know you could do that.
I know, see, you learn something every day, right? So if we wanted to talk about waterfall for a little bit, this would be a way for me to project a screen to you that's a little less busy. And we can have a discussion around this topic, and then we can go back and say, okay, that was great. We were done talking about waterfall, and we want to either move on to something else, or we want to, move to the next section. So now we're back to all of the data again. So we'll take a look at how a little more features or functionality you can do with that as we get more data to look at as we move forward. All right, so I'm going to show you the next way to get to the next screen. Really, for all I can tell you is slide it over so you get the next panel, number 2, in front of you. And again, I know you're flipping between 2 screens here, so thank you for making the best of that. Now, the next thing I'm going to do, this is a facilitator skill, okay? So I want everyone to use either the blue or the green person to answer the next question. So for now, I'm going to focus you all on those guys. So I'm going to reduce my stars down to 1. And I'm going to give us a bunch of little blue and green people to work with. Oops, we don't need 1,000, just 100 is good enough. All right, so now the question that I want you all to think about is, this curve is called the Satir change curve. And this comes from family therapy, by the way, where anytime a change is introduced into an organization of people, so it came from like the family unit, although this completely applies to professional groups as well. When change is introduced, change also comes with a bunch of chaos, right? So here's our maybe the waterfall team, right? We're doing waterfall now, and this is over time, and we have this stasis going on where we might have a little success or a little difficulty, but the variation between good and bad is pretty tiny, and we just carry on like this, and in theory it could carry on like this forever. But we want to be better than that, right? What we're looking for is we want to deliver value quickly, and we want our customers to love us even more, and all these other things, right? All those stars that you guys added are what you really want to get to. Well, the bad news is, to get there, you're going to have to go through some pain, right? You're going to be doing something new. Your teams are going to be working differently, and they're going to make mistakes, and they're going to struggle, and parts of it are going to be painful. And as they start to get better at it, they're going to improve and improve and improve. And over time, they're going to hit that new peak of productivity that you want to get to. And we all have to go through this. This is just the reality of it. So my question to you is, where are you in this Satir change curve in adopting Agile? And it's quite possible that some of you might be very early on, maybe even ahead of this, right? We haven't even decided we're going to do this yet. Some of you may be way in the deep, painful trough of, yeah, we're doing it and we're struggling. We've got problems. And then other of you, there may be some folks that are like, hey, I think our heads are above water now, right? It's significantly better than the pain points. And actually, I think we're functioning better than we were before we even started, right? We're delivering faster. We're starting to achieve some of those stars. So go ahead and grab one. And my recommendation here is to put your initials in the name, right? Because there doesn't really seem to be a good name for this. So I would say for Conteneo, we've been doing this a really long time. I'm really proud of our team. So I think we're up here. So yeah, I'll give you a couple of minutes, and it's just going to be kind of fun for me to see, okay, where do people feel they are? And also I can tell, does this group like blue or green better? Ooh, it's close. Green is winning. I was going to put a red guy in there too. And then I thought, that red sometimes implies stop or danger or, something not super positive. So I thought we'd stick with happy colors. Blue and green are happy.
I think that was a good choice. The bottom, what's that called? Is there a technical word for the bottom?
The worst pain point ever? Yeah, I don't know. The doldrums of sadness.
We have a learning life cycle. And so that for us, Omnicron team, is the turn. Yeah, we have yearn, learn, turn, earn, burn. And so that turn is the challenging part. Yeah. How do you get people through the turn?
Yep. All right.
I like the people that are all kind of off the chart, like thinking about it or watching to see how it's going to go.
Yep. Yep. Yeah. So now you can kind of see if people have added some insights in there. Let's go back at the list and see. Now we want to scroll down and look at our people. Right. So we have some people who've added some descriptions here. And by the way, this may or may not share what you're willing to share. Right. And there's no requirement that you write a paragraph here or share things that you're uncomfortable with. But the more that you can add here, we'll be sharing an anonymized version of these results to everybody who is here. So I think it would be really interesting for all of you to be able to say, look, I just had a call with 70 people, and here's, where the 70 kind of all, where they fell in this question that we're answering. Here's some of the things I learned. Here's some of the direct quotes that people said. And we won't be attributing any of this to you as an individual, but it'll be interesting, I think, for you to share this with your teams back at your groups as well. All right, so now I can see, yeah, we've got a lot of answers here. Thank you very much for that. Let's take a look visually now. So here's, again, what I think is really interesting about using visualizations for data is, okay, I've asked you, where do you think you fall? And we could have said things like early on, in the pain point, mature, but there's just something way better about being able to also look at it, right? So now I can see 70 answers are pretty close to that. And we've got more people in the chaos area than we do either in the beginning or have come out of it. But you know what? There's enough people who've crossed the line and are coming out of it where there's hope for all the rest of us, right? It's like, obviously a bunch of people are getting there, so we just need to hang tight a little longer. All right, so yeah, so now what I want to show you from a tool standpoint is what I think is kind of cool about this is if we look at the list view, I can see where you all are based on the answer to this change curve column. So when we first looked at the stars, the only answer we had here in these additional columns was that we knew the stars were all placed on the goals area of my canvas. Well, I have another area or set of areas defined, and now I can see who's at the bottom, who's in the starting gate, who's heading upwards. I know there's going to be some people who are, doing well. So maybe I want to do like a little sort here based on that column. Oops. Now I can see all my people who are at the bottom, who are all doing well and who's kind of heading down, who's heading up, right? And how many are at the start. So I can sort based on the answers to where you are. Now let me show you how I got those answers. On this board view, I have what we call regions. It's sort of like geofencing, right? And I know that term gets applied outside of software as well, but in this case, geofencing means that I understand regions and placements on this canvas. So the change curve, that area here, if you put your person there, the answer to that column that I showed you on the list view is the start, right? And if you put your little person here, all of you are heading down, and these guys are all at the bottom, and then the heading up and the doing well. So I added this ahead of time because I wanted to be able to sort based on where you placed your person. So if I look back at the list view again, you can see this change. This is abbreviated change curve here. Where you placed it gave me the answer in the column. So you can see we've got more columns to fill out here, and I'll, as we go forward, I'll be able to share a little bit more about that. So before I move on to box number 3, does anyone have any questions or comments, or Omnikron team, anything else I should talk about here?
Well, I'd be interested to hear from some of the folks above the line of, was there a turning point to where maybe, is there a good story from any of you? And if you either chat or send me a question, we'd love to hear from you. So just think about that, and I'll just solicit from anybody that is, sort of above the line. If you, feel so inclined, chat with us. And then if there's anybody below the line, if there is a question that you just have about the struggle of it, how do I do X? Send that in as a Q&A and or a chat. Let's take advantage of your peers and colleagues from all over the world. So definitely this is a live research project that you guys are all contributing to. So I don't have anything right now, but I just
Robin, I actually have a question here in chat.
Oh, good.
Dixon Schwabel is a marketing agency. Any advice for Agile in marketing or creative environments?
Yeah, so that's kind of the group that I work in, is the sales and marketing side of things. And so for us, it really is about, the principles of Agile that are meaningful have to do with, constant or frequent interactions and collaboration with customers, an empowered or a self-empowered team, short iterations and delivery of value quicker. And so for us, the way we organize the team kind of remains the same as a team that might be delivering software. So I talk to my customers much more frequently. We have a very empowered team. We have very short cycles on delivery. So for example, if I have to deliver a new version of our website or a new collection of landing pages and marketing material and support material, I deliver versions of those much quicker than I used to, right? Instead of it being a 6-week or a 2-month project, I'm delivering versions of these things to my customer for feedback on a sometimes daily basis. So the process of iterating quicker and delivering quicker and having members of my team have more power, to also contribute without, such a dictatorial kind of structure is very helpful in sales and marketing groups. Right. So, and by the way, if anyone wants to talk to me after this, I'll give you some links about how you can connect me afterwards. But, we do a lot of Agile coaching and Agile transformation work, and also helping people use this tool to more effectively work in groups like that. So one more aside is I use my own tool to work with my marketing folks. And so after this is over, if you want to take a look at or book a meeting with me, and I will show you the frameworks that I use with my team to manage marketing programs, I'd be happy to do that.
And Laura, you did answer a question. Sarichi I'm not sure if I said that right, but it looks like a very nice sounding name, Sarichi. Wanted to know, is this only for Agile transformation workshops, or can it be used for other Agile functions?
Actually, we use it for even what I would say are non-Agile activities. I've got more traditional project managers using this tool all the time. So it depends on the framework that you're using. And I happen to be showing you a collection of frameworks that are really tailored for the Agile team. But there are frameworks that are for people who have nothing to do with Agile at all. And so, yeah, and once you look at the tool and see the frameworks that are included with it, and, there'll be some resources we can send to you after this, you'll be able to see that, oh yeah, there's that framework that I use with my kids because I didn't even know to call it a framework. And it's how we decide what we're going to do for Christmas vacation. So there's a lot you can do with this. It really is dependent on the framework that you choose to use. All right, so I want to move over to this part of the canvas because I think this is really interesting. So I'm looking at the boat. This is a sailboat. And the sailboat is a metaphorical framework. It's a way to kind of answer a complex question, and metaphors help us do that. So my question to you is, as an individual or as a member of your team, or if you want to put your corporate hat on, you or your team or your group is the boat. You're on that boat and you're trying to get to perfect agility, right? That's off in the distance somewhere. I'm assuming one of us will get there one day, but nobody's perfect yet. But anyway, that's where you're trying to go. And there are things that hold you back, right? There are problems, struggles, inefficiencies, things that make you sad, things that wreck your day, or processes that are just too hard. Stuff that drags you down are anchors. And the deeper the anchor, the worse the problem. So your very worst problem that's preventing you from being amazing with Agile would be the deepest anchor you can place. And on the flip side, all of you are doing things right now that are really helping you adopt Agile or use it or make the most of it. Or in general, even if you're not using Agile, there are things that you're doing that are perfectly wonderful and really help your team be efficient. And you might be thinking, gosh, if I move to Agile, am I going to lose out on all these things that we're currently doing that are really great? Or you might even have some, advice for people on, well, what should you be? What should be the wind in your sails if you're going to be moving towards Agile? Like, what do you need to drive this process forward? And that is the most awesome puff of wind. Absolutely. Having strong management definitely helps. So yeah, please carry on adding anchors and wind. I think that, if you give your anchor or wind a little bit of thought, what you add here could be incredibly helpful for everybody on the call, right? Because we're all struggling with these things, right? And to know that your anchor isn't the only one, right? And people generally struggle with management support, and your puff of wind might not be the only one, right? And so if you have advice or other best practices, this is a great place to share that. Now, while you're adding your ideas, I'll tell you a couple of things that I've run into that I think have been really helpful. Understanding where you fit as an individual in the process of adopting anything new is really challenging for people, and it does inspire kind of fear of failure, right? Fear of lots of different things, fear of losing your job. All these things come up for people. So I think as a member of a team or a company that's adopting Agile, one of the things you can really do as an individual to help is to make sure that your team has a way of participating in the change that feels positive and is helpful. Like, obviously, all of us can't be CEOs and have that level of influence on a process that's as big as this one. But in all of our roles, we have the ability to kind of help others understand where they connect into the process of change and know that they can actually have a hand in making it more successful. So there are lots of ways of doing that. The way that resonates with me and why I love working at Conteneo so much is I've taken it upon myself to continue to learn as many frameworks as I can, because I'm starting to think that, man, there's a framework for everything, right? It's like, oh, you got a problem? Got a framework for that. It's starting to be kind of this weird answer I have, right, Rob? And every time we talk, I'm like, ooh, I have a framework that might help with that one. But I've really started looking on purpose for different ways of thinking about data or insight or input, so that all members of my customers and my team and other people I interact with on a lot of different problem sets, they understand, oh, well, you know what, I do know something and I am good at something and I have been thinking about this. And now I know where I can have some positive impact to help make everybody more successful. So that's my way of like, okay, how can I help with, you know, improving an agile transformation? And one of the things I try to focus on is how can I make sure that as many people as possible are included in the change in a way that they're actually engaged in helping it be successful, rather than kind of sitting off in the distance and hoping it doesn't get them laid off, right? Okay, so I'm going to go ahead back to the list view here and just start to see the anchors that are being added here. I'm going to organize by type so I can just look at anchors for now. Yeah, and there's definitely things that no co-located teams. You know, that's another reason we built Weave. And, you know, it's this thing about having a team that's all in the same place and you all work in the same room and you get this big, nice conference room. You know, if that were only true, wouldn't we all have easy lives? But for most of us, we have team members who just aren't, for whatever reason, in the same office as us. So how do you collaborate with people who aren't there? Right? Well, we're really trying to solve that with Weave. That's one of the reasons we built this platform. Too much change, right? Yeah, I mean, we all deal with that, whether we're Agile or not, but how do you manage change as an Agile group? And how do you make sure that you're supposed to be responsive to your customers, but there's a point where you might feel like, hey, every day I wake up and something's changed. How do I manage that? That's a common struggle. All right, so I'm just going to quickly flip back here and say, okay, we have more anchors than we do wind. What? Oh, it's never mind. That's because I sorted. Yeah, this new feature I've got. I need to remember.
I'm like, where's all the wind?
Yeah, where's all the wind? Yeah. Oh, yeah. We have a lot of wind. Don't worry. There we go. Okay. So the other thing I want to point out here is, again, back to my regions, where you put your anchors and wind actually mattered, right? Remember when I said the deeper the anchor, the worse the problem? Well, my really bad stuff is all near the bottom, right? So I'm going to just show my, oops, I want my selected region. All right, so my really bad stuff is way at the bottom. You can see I've got that little darker blue. And my bad, but not really bad stuff is closer to the bottom of the boat. And this, you know, holds true for the metaphor, right? You know, if you have an anchor dragging off the back of your boat, it will slow you down, right? It'll definitely give you worse gas mileage if you're in a speedboat. But it has to really be deep in the water for it to actually stop your boat. Let's just turn that off real quick. All right. So the other thing I want to point out is with the wind, I decided it would be interesting to understand what the really good stuff is. So again, from a metaphor standpoint, the wind in your sails really is like the strongest, most powerful, best things you have, right? But any wind is better than no wind if you're a sailboat. And so all the wind is good. But if we wanted to get really specific about, okay, what do you really think is the most awesome? We have a visual way of putting it in the right location so that when I go back to my list view, I can actually look at, okay, well, which of this stuff is, you know, okay, this one is good, right? It's not really good, it's good. Here, this Agile Principles one, it's bad, but it's not really bad, right? So now where you put it tells me a little bit more than just the name of your anchor or wind and also the description that you've added. Now, I would imagine some of you are going to be asking, like, okay, well, you know, can I download this, or is there, you know, can I sort this in a lot of different ways? When we do complex projects, we are for sure downloading a spreadsheet, which is what that button would do. And, you know, and then you can use all the power of Excel on all this stuff. And so I've made some really neat looking charts and graphs, and, you know, it really helps people, again, visualize the answers to this. So there's a lot you can do inside the tool, but there's even more that you can then do when you download this at the end. All right, so we're getting short, you know, I know we have about 10 minutes left, so we have one more activity that I want you to be able to do. So I'm gonna explain that one. And of course, if you do have questions, make sure that you're chatting them in as you get them. So in this case here, and I'm going to give you some more of these, we have 3 item icons that I want you to use. Now, this, you're definitely going to have to zoom in on this one. So my recommendation is to kind of, okay, we have Agile principles at the top. We have product management items on the right side. On the left side, it's technical management, and down at the bottom, it's organizational dynamics. Now, these 4 areas kind of come together to create an Agile environment or Agile organization. So some of these things you might think you're great at, and so TF is rocking it for me right now. So if you think that you are good at this, it's a strength of yours or your group or your team or your company, that's what the plus is for. Needs improvement means, yeah, we're trying to do it, but we know we're not very good at it. And unknown or untried means, I don't even know what definition of done is. So I'm going to put the little question mark on there because I don't know if we're doing it or not. And who knows, maybe we haven't even tried it. So this one is definitely going to get busy. And so just remember to use your Zoom, and you can decide if you want to start on, and for example, I'll just do this now. I'm going to zoom in a little more, and I'm just going to look at the Agile principles for a moment. So you could do something like this with your screen as well, and just zoom in to kind of have a little bit better view of where you are.
Laura?
Yeah.
Need more negatives, or not? No, I'm not allowed to use a negative, huh? Either a question or a plus. Sorry.
Oh, oops, sorry. I was supposed to put 100 there, and I think I put 1. So there you go. You got more negatives.
Thank you.
Yeah, no, I only accept positive feelings. That's what it is.
I don't actually see it yet. Let me refresh. So there we go.
You got
Thank
it?
you.
Okay. Yep. Sorry, guys. No, at least we got the positive thinking going. But yeah, I mean, for us, even though we've been doing this for a long time, I know that there are things on here that we should be doing better. Right. And some of them we've been working on, right? So for Conteneo, our planning sessions have more often than not included not me, which is my complaint with them, but the teams do planning. What we've discovered is that when they include non-engineering people in the planning sessions, it actually helps me do my job better. So I'm not necessarily helping them, but I'm helping myself by being part of that. So it's just, as we move forward and becoming even better and better at being Agile, we're starting to discover that there's a lot of things that we can continue to improve, even though I feel like we've been doing it for a very long time and we've had a lot of practice. Let's see. So while you're doing that, I'm going to click back over. Actually, what I think I will do here is, click back over to my list. Now right now we're working on the Agile principles, or on that Agile kind of 4-quadrant thing. So now I can start to see what items are being added to the Agile principles segment of that 4-quadrant picture, which ones are in project management, which product management is supposed to be, which ones are in, the organizational side or the technical side. And so, I can then also look at, okay, well, this is a negative and where was it placed? Or this is a positive and where was it placed? So my ability to have insights into this have really gotten pretty rich, right? This board, I'm sure you're all gonna, love to have a copy of this data, because if you think about what we've just learned with 70 people, we know about reasons for Agile and goals. We know about where people are in their transformation. We know about what's working really well for them and what their struggles are. And now we're starting to drill in really specifically on, okay, well, what are people getting good at and what are they struggling with and what haven't they tried yet? Or maybe what is unknown, perhaps because it's outside of their particular role right now. And I kind of go back to, I don't know how to ask these kinds of questions if we don't have a visual way of capturing it, right? It's too complicated. All right, so I'm going to also just start clicking in here and just see, again, I can also hover over these, by the way. So if you're either looking at my screen now, or if you do this on your own, if you hover over somebody else's item, a little, layover pops up. right? And it'll give you both the, whatever they've typed, basically, the name and the description.
I have a technical question.
Yeah.
What happens when they're not in one of the squares? How did you fence that?
So if I show you where my fences are, this is something that as a facilitator or a project person, I would do later. But right now, what I've got here are, if I look at this one, so my Agile retrospectives, all of these are in here, right? But I look over here and this one isn't really in the backlog grooming.
Yeah.
So we're sure, you know, we don't really, normally this, just talking about this particular graphic would be a discussion with, you know, would take longer than 5 or 10 minutes. So I would understand from TF and EG, are they actually, are these backlog grooming items? I might be able to tell just by looking at them, right? So, but that one isn't, I'm not quite sure. It doesn't have a description on there.
Okay.
But I would either ask them to move it into the okay, there you go. See, it's being moved into that geofence there, or I could edit that geofence, right? So I might decide that, oh, I made that box a little too small. So I want to edit that one. And I'm just going to make it bigger so that it includes the things that people intended to have it be in there. So I can do some modification, you know, in real time, or I can also, you know, ask people to move their items around a little bit as well.
That's cool. Thank you. Yeah, guys, I use the tool for client workshops, speaking engagements, and then also in the training. So the whole fencing part of it as a facilitator of how do I want to look at a platform, or, you know, how do I want to look at a canvas and what do I want to label them? This is all, whatever you want to call it, whatever you want to title it, it's completely up to you, like Laura's showing us. It's very cool. And it's also super fun to do.
Yeah, so I know that we're up at almost the top of the hour. So the last screen that I want to show you here, and I'm just going to click, see, look at this. When I go back to restart, it's like, wow. it's really crowded and hard to read. So, you know, the Zoom is your friend when you're asking complex questions. All right, so I'm just going to zoom back in here. So I said it in the beginning. I want to make sure everyone really believes me here. I would love to help you in either understanding the tool, of course, and it's something that I love to use myself. But if you have questions about process improvement or adopting Agile, or we're not even Agile and that's not even my problem, but I do have a collaboration issue. Can you talk to me about other frameworks, right? You might be thinking that, where, okay, yeah, my collaboration isn't about Agile right now. I just want to collaborate better around something else. I would say, please reach out to me. I've got an email address here. It's laura.richardson@conteneo.co. I also gave you my Calendly link. So what this means is you could, you know, use that URL to just see my calendar and book some time with me. This framework here is something we're not going to use today, but I often use this in calls with people, kind of thinking about, okay, well, given what you're struggling with, let's look at some possible solutions and then decide together how much effort would it take to implement that solution and how much positive impact would it have if we actually did it. And so obviously things that take a lot of effort and don't have a lot of positive impact give us all sad faces. And so we're not going to do those things. But, you know, what we're really all looking for, right, is minimal effort, maximum positive impact. And those are things that are kind of easy to say yes to. And so if you want to schedule some time with me to talk about this, you know, relating to any one of your problems or struggles that you have, I would love to meet more of you and have, you know, a one-on-one conversation.
Yeah, what Laura's offering, guys, is if you, let's say you have a weekly staff meeting and you have some issue that you're going over with your team and you're so tired of, yeah, same old, same old, same old. Just set a time with Laura and she will actually, you know, be a guest and maybe jazz it up a little bit. She's got a bazillion frameworks that she could use. But if you have a weekly staff meeting and you guys are working through an issue, take advantage of Laura's expertise and also the tool, and that won't cost you anything. It'd just be super fun for you. So we wanted to offer that to you as a gift for attending and playing along today. We have about a minute left, so just wanted to, if you guys have any thoughts for Laura Let's give her a shout out. I want to kind of see that chat blow up now with your thoughts. I know we've been working, but I have thank you, and I got some happy faces. So before you go, please let us hear from you on what you thought about this today. Sarachi says this is going to be very, very helpful. Thank you. Eric, thank you for the platform and the collaboration. Thank you very much. Yes, informative. Stacy, great to see you. Always, Stacy, thank you. Layla says thank you. And guys, really appreciate your time today. Yeah, we're getting a lot of good interaction. Thank you for your feedback. That's very important to us. So we will be meeting again next month, I think on April 19th. This one is more for corporate learning. So if there's HR people or leaders at your company and you really want them to fund your tuition assistance, or here, let me say this on the camera. If you want some more money for training, then make sure that the leaders at your company come to our webinar on April 19th. We're going to have a special guest, Lumina Foundation. They're a $1 billion foundation, personal friends of mine, and they are driven to the goal that by 2025, 60% of adults in the United States will have a degree, secondary degree, or a certificate, because globally, the US is losing its place, its advantage, its competitive advantage. And so Lumina is dedicated towards raising the bar for all of us in the United States. It's a very, very important seminar that we'll be doing on April 19th back here in Zoom. So stay tuned for that. Please do get in touch with Laura. And I think we can go ahead and sign off now, but Laura, let's just stay, and Brad, let's stay, and Heather, let's do a quick debrief. So goodbye for today, you guys. Thank you so much for your feedback. Thanks for your patience and agility in playing the Agile Adoption Curve. We'll get some reporting back to you guys with the stats from all of this. Thank you, Laura.
Hey, thank you, everybody. It's been fun to have all of you here.